Hey yo, so it's Monday now, finally back in the studio. I finally have some time to create some artwork, so I'm pretty stoked about that. And I have a couple things I want to experiment with today. So this is an MDF cutout, and I designed this based off of a digital illustration that I made. So as you can see, this bottom part is a flower pot, and then all of this is the bouquet, but the bouquet is kind of comprised of like all my signature doodles and elements, like little skull, flowers, there's an eye here. Right here you can kind of see it's like a Mickey Mouse peace hand. Got UFO up here, cloud, smiley face, lightning bolt. I used these to make a like a 3D wall sculpture a few weeks ago, and I have one of these cutouts left, and I want to try using this as a stencil. So I kind of want to do like a series of smaller originals with this on paper. So we're going to do that today. I got my big pieces of watercolor paper here. This is like thick Strathmore watercolor. Super nice to work on. I think these are like 22 by 30 inches, so they're pretty big. So yeah, we're gonna get to that. If you guys are new here, thanks so much for checking in. My name's Chris Solczy. I go by Solczy on Instagram and social media. I'm a Canadian pop abstract artist based out of Windsor, Ontario. And I've been an artist pretty much full time for the past 10 years now. My work's a big mixture of abstract painting and mixed media techniques with inspiration from graffiti and pop art. I aim to make work that inspires a sense of nostalgia and inspiration and brings an overall sense of joy and happiness to its viewers. Okay, cool. So I got my supplies laid out here. I grabbed a bunch of these random little like texture maker things from Michael's that I found. I love using like random objects in my art to make textures. We got like little I don't know, it's kind of like spongy stuff. You can like spray paint through it or like dab it. Got these little like mini mop type things with like plastic strands on the end, so you can make like swirly textures and some foam ones. But yeah, first things first is I'm gonna hit both of these pieces with a layer of black. So what I'm gonna do is layer a layer of black as the background. And then when I lay the stencil over top and fill in my colors with spray paint, the wood is going to act as a stencil and reveal the black line work. So what you see in the stencil is going to be black lines, like the black outline. So we're just going to open this new paint, put a bit down. I'm going to try to work fast on these, not try to overthink it, and just be quick and kind of loose with it. So how I feel like work turns out the best is when it's kind of just quick and in the moment. So I have this roller. I'm just going to roll some black. This roller is giving a bit of texture because it's kind of stiff in some spots. It's kind of cool, makes it look a little grungy. I hope you guys can hear me alright. A little bit loud out today. But yeah, this gives like a bit of a grungy textural look, something like you'd find in the streets maybe. I love that look. I don't like when things are like super perfect all the time. So yeah, just roll on that. Now what I like to do to add even like more texture and interest is just take something sharp and just scratch in some lines, scribbles. Added texture and depth, and then grab my black spray paint. And I'm just going to hit the edges here. So it's totally covered. I'm going to leave some white spots here and there, but set that one to the side to dry. Grab our other sheet. Got 2 of these sheets right now. Now some black. Oh. I usually do my spray painting outside, but I'm painting inside today because we have, it's a super nice day, but we have these big poplar trees on our property, and they're giving off like millions of those tiny white fluffies, and they tend to get stuck in the paint, and they kind of drive me insane and make my eyes super itchy, so I'm trying to stay inside. I have a door open on each end, a garage door, so it's like a wind tunnel. Alright, I closed my other garage door, so hopefully that'll help a little bit. Okay, so we got 1 black sheet ready to go here. It's not fully dry, but that doesn't really matter. Working quick. Take our stencil. It's a little bit big for the page, so what I'm gonna do is center it down a little bit so the bottom here of this vase gets cut off a little bit, which is fine. It'll just look like it's sitting on a flat table or something. It looks pretty center. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Spin this around so you guys can see from your perspective. Nice. So what I'm gonna do now is grab some different color spray paints and basically start filling in spots. And then, yeah, when I lift it up, it's gonna reveal the black line work, and then I'll paint around the outside, give it a background, a lighter background probably, and then take some paint markers or brushes and do some like detailed work in all the little areas of the bouquet. So I'm just gonna pick out a nice selection of colors here. Brown, pinks, blue. Got a few more colors here to work with. Got a lime green, fluorescent orange, white, lighter baby blue, red, different purple, hot pink, so should be a good selection. I think I'm going to start off with this pot here at the bottom. I want that to be a more neutral natural color, so this is like a beige. Put that pot with this lined up here. Let's hit this cloud up here with this light blue. And we're gonna get some overspray on the outside, but that's alright because I'm gonna paint around that at the end. I love, let's do a purple on this flower. I had this idea for the other one, maybe doing it just black and white might look really cool. Most of my work is super colorful, but sometimes it's fun to just go black and white because you don't have to overthink everything with the colors, and just keep it simple and bold. Fill this heart in with red. I feel like red's gonna be kind of our focal point color. I think the heart's gonna be like the main focal point, but you kind of want a little more splashes of red here and there. So I think that's good. Kind of find somewhere else to add a little bit of red. Maybe this flower right here. And above that eye. Like I said, some colors are going to spray over and bleed into others, but once we remove the stencil, I'm going to clean everything up with a brush and some pens and stuff, so I don't have to worry about that right now. Right now it's just about getting all the colors blocked in that we want. This is kind of like my take on like a still life floral, a little bit more graffiti street vibe. Having a lot of fun doing a series of like flower vases and stuff. There's a lot you can do with them, I think. Take this lime green and add some of that for some highlight. Ooh, not much there. Some of these paints come out really strong. You gotta be careful. Okay, yeah, I want to do a gray for the skull, so I'm gonna grab gray. Go ahead and do that cloud right here. This is my favorite way to create, where it's kind of like unexpected. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but that makes it exciting for me and keeps me interested and motivated. Now it's time to remove the stencil. Moment of truth. Ah, it's pretty cool. Alright, so I got the second piece laid out here, ready to go. I think I want to do maybe black, white, and maybe a little bit of brown and beige. I think that would be really cool. I've never really done pieces like that, but I think it'll provide a nice balance between my sort of wild illustrative graffiti style and more traditional coloring. This one, I'm going to flip the stencil the other way. I think that looks pretty center. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. That's good. Let's just start painting it with white then. Side, I'm going to add a little bit of gray. That'll be cool. Just a slight light dustings of gray. I think skull. Be up from the UFO. Oh yeah, look at those big ones. Love that. Well, the pot's going to be mostly beige again. And just a hit of darker brown just for some shadows. Peel this bad boy. Pretty sweet. So we're just gonna do the same thing with the matte medium. A thin layer of that to seal it all in. And one thing I really love about making works on paper like this is like there's not as much pressure to mess up as there is when you work on a huge canvas. And I feel it's a lot more freeing. Therefore the work actually turns out a lot better a lot of the time. And also it's just smaller and quicker, and it's cheaper, so you can sell it cheaper too to collectors, and it's a good way for them to, you know, kind of dip their toes in without spending a ton of money on a big canvas original. Especially in today's economy, things are hard, but still trying to make my art accessible. So I feel like these works on papers are super great for that. They're easier to collect, they're not as big, you don't need as much wall space. You can kind of change them out easier than a big canvas. So alright, cool. Let that one to dry and then start working on the color one, adding in the details. Alright, so this one's all dried up. Got my markers, got some brushes, and I'm going to start going in and adding some details. First things first, I'm going to get my brush, fix up some of this line work here. It got torn. I think I'm happy with that for the line work. Before I go ahead and add the details in, I think I'm gonna paint the background because it's gonna make the flower pot and bouquet stand out a lot more. So let's do that. I'm gonna grab some acrylic. Okay, so this is what I decided for background. I've got this like terracotta sort of color. It's a house paint. I actually use a lot of house paint in my art. It's not only is it cheap, but like the color is super opaque and super high quality. So I'm gonna do a base probably up to here that's gonna act as like the background table, and then the background behind the flowers is gonna be like this super light baby blue. I'm just gonna go ahead and decide where I want the surface to end. So you see what I'm doing is I'm going around the black outline that was left from the stencil. So now once this background's in, it's really gonna reveal the shape of the stencil a little more. And quick and painterly, and just getting the color on there. Even some brush strokes and some texture. And we're not going for perfection with these, I'm actually going for imperfection. I think it's good to practice loosening up as much as you can and just moving quick. I feel like that captures the moment the best and really captures like your true essence and style as an artist when you move quick. And I'm gonna add some little scratches in here just for some added texture and interest. There we go. It's a nice light blue shade, I really like that. So this is kind of where the sky meets the surface. And a lot of that overspray from the colors are gonna get covered up. I'm trying to stay as clean as I can along the black outline. and then on the rest of the background, just keeping it loose and messy. This is probably like my 4th or 5th, maybe even 6th, I don't know, I gotta check, but 4th or 5th in my series of flower bouquets. Started doing them a couple years ago, and I just found them so fun because, first of all, there's so many styles of pots you can use and vases, so many ways to paint those, and then with the flowers, like there's like unlimited varieties and styles of bouquets. And with all my motifs and elements and all that, I feel like it was a super unique twist on a more traditional, like, still life kind of imagery. Fun addition to the series, a series that I'm definitely going to continue and experiment with further in the future. It's honestly been one of my favorite series I've worked on. I'll probably put these pieces up for sale on my website if anybody's interested. Maybe I'll have prints of them available at some point. Not only has it been my favorite series, but it seems to have been a fan favorite, and all of the originals in my bouquet series so far have sold out. Just thinking about what I'm gonna do for the other one, the black and white one. Maybe I'll actually do the background just solid white. Maybe give it a base color like I did this with the terracotta. I think that might look pretty cool. Alright, I think that's good for the background. So next day now, I've allowed both these pieces to fully dry overnight. They're looking pretty sweet, and now for the fun part, I'm gonna finally add in all the little details and shadowing all in the bouquet shapes. So yeah, it should be fun. I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse this part. Alrighty, just finished adding in a few final little details to these pieces. Just a few splashes of color here and there, and a bit of highlights and little details with my paint markers. Now for the last step, I'm gonna tape these up to the wall and hit them with my airbrush and add some shadowing. Really give these pieces depth and a 3D effect. All right, sweet, got my pieces taped up to the wall here, ready to go for the shadowing. For my airbrush, I just use this cheap Mastercraft airbrush I got at Canadian Tire. You know, I've tried a lot of different airbrushes over the years, a lot of like art specific ones, and they can definitely get pretty expensive. In my experience, since I just use them for shadowing mainly and nothing too detailed, I just tend to stick with the cheap ones that you can get at like hardware stores and stuff. I don't like finicking with them, like cleaning them out when they get all clogged up. So I know it's kind of wasteful, but I just end up tossing them out when they get all dirty, and I think they're like 20 bucks, so it's not really a big deal. Yeah, it does a trick. Well guys, both these pieces are all finished up. I'm pretty happy with the turnout. I think they look pretty awesome. Definitely a series that I think I'm going to keep continuing. Thanks so much for tuning into another one of my YouTube videos. I'm really trying to focus a lot more energy and effort here on YouTube so that I can make more in-depth and personal content for you guys. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. It would really help me out a ton. Peace.